Hey everyone, we are back for another incredible episode of the Gathering Movement interview series. I am here today with the most beautiful Susan Bishop, and we're going to be talking about could your clothes be killing you? A very important topic. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Bridget. It's an honor to be here. I
Beautiful.
appreciate the opportunity.
You are very welcome. I remember when we first connected and I found out about your business and what you were doing. And as someone who believes that this planet needs to change in many ways, I see you as this catalyst for change. So I'd love to hear about how this work found you, how you found yourself getting into more sustainable fashion and building a business out of that.
Oh, well, thank you. That's a good question because I wasn't always focused on this environmental approach to clothing. Historically, in my life, not ancient history in terms of the world, but in my life, I learned to sew at a very young age. My grandmother and my mother were women that taught us to sew because that's how they grew up. My grandmother worked on a farm and she made all her own clothes. And so as I got older, my mother would only let me get a pattern and fabric, never say no to that. I was never shopping in a store for clothes. So, it did me well. I learned how to sew from a very young age, and that progressed through my life. And maybe around the year 2001, I decided I would add a boutique to my salon. I own a hair salon. And people liked what I sewed. I was like, oh my God, so excited. And as the journey continued, I was a mishmash of materials. I never had any focus on what I would make. I just liked this, I'd make that. And I thought I really do need to hone in. And so oddly enough, it was a 90-day food challenge that got me going in this direction. And this food challenge was a journey of learning to eliminate crap from my diet. Sugars. My mother was a health food nut, and you think I would have learned it. But, due to childhood traumas and such, people are addicted to things. And it doesn't mean massive addictions as we refer to drugs and whatever, or alcohol, sugar, or our phones and things like that. And so I learned through this program to pay attention to my emotions and how my emotions were influencing the food I put in my mouth. And by the end of this 90 days, you feel so clean, you feel so connected to nature, so reverent of the planet, because it's the plants, it's the earth that feeds us. And I thought in the back of my mind, I know that there's fabric being processed and made that does not sustain the earth, nor the people that they're supposedly paying to make these fabrics. So I started there, trying to focus more on natural fabrics, which I always enjoyed working with at any rate, because they just feel better in the hand. They are easier to work with when you're sewing, I found. So that's how I came to be more interested in natural fabrics, and this is just continuing, and I'm doing research every day, it would seem, to try to source organically produced fabrics, because they're not the norm, as you know. You go to stores and it's a lot of fast fashion. And so as I find more, I resonate with them and enjoy sewing them. And I don't know how much you want me to go on, or if you have another question.
So I want to
could go on forever.
I know you could. I think this is such an important topic because as someone who has known about the importance of food for, over 12 years now, I've, done a lot of research on food, and now it's going into makeup. But I have a feeling that our clothing is going to be the next industry that people become aware that it does have an impact on their body. So I don't know anything about this topic. I really don't. And I'm really looking to learn a lot more. So in your opinion or in your research, like what is our clothing made of typically, and why does that affect our bodies?
Okay, good question. Well, typically fast fashion is made from polyesters, rayons, nylons, and acrylics. So each of them have their inherent, not so good aspects. With polyester and all of these products, your skin can't breathe. And so when your skin can't breathe, it raises your body temperature, as you know. And any chemicals that are used in the production of these fabrics that can then be released onto the skin. So imagine that. Wood pulp in rayon is chemically converted, and it's dangerous to produce. It actually has caused insanity due to chemical poisoning, nausea, headaches, and vomiting. I mean, this sounds very extreme, but even the people producing these products have been, around these chemicals. They have committed suicide. I mean, that's an extreme case, and gone insane. And so let me take it right back to the statement of this video. Could your clothes be killing you? If they're killing somebody else, that has a direct effect, I believe, on the whole world. And we need to wake up to that. It's not okay that because I have to buy 5 things at the going shopping today, that it could have that effect across the globe on somebody else. So the consciousness around clothing, you're right, needs to come into effect, because our dollars keep these practices moving forward. And so if we do not vote with our money and we make other choices, then they'll wake up and go, oh, okay, people don't want this anymore. So it's up to you and I. That's what we can do as, small people in our own little world. We can be big people making big choices.
Yeah. I kind of compare this to going to the grocery store and, just buying everything you see with no thought of where did that actually come from? That was from a farm in who knows where. It was sitting on a truck for 2 weeks before it actually entered this store. It's been sitting there for 4 days, and then you go buy it. You completely forget the entire process. And I think what we need to start realizing, and I think having conversations like this broadcast to the world is helpful, because we don't think about our clothes when we go shopping. It's just like, oh, it's on the rack. I'm going to purchase this. It looks good.
Exactly. It's on sale. Woohoo, even better. And those very same processes in the food industry, like GMO foods and GMO seeds and all the poisons that Monsanto has created, that become a vicious circle, because then they create super weeds and they need another chemical to fight the super weeds. Those same processes, I'll tell you a story, have been taken to India, and they convinced the government that they should be able to go in there and put that process into India. So I'm going to specifically speak to cotton. They created this super cotton and convinced farmers that this was the way to go. They'd have higher yields, the quality would be better, and the reverse happened. The crops failed. The problem with it is that farmers have to invest not only in these so-called patented seeds. They used to save seeds. They didn't cost them anything, and they have to invest in equipment to spread the poisons. They didn't need that equipment before. And so many farmers committed suicide because their way of living was taken away from them. And now add to that the biodiversity of the soil in which they work is gone. And so that has to be regenerated. The farmers that used organic methods and didn't buy into that paradigm, their crops are thriving. And so, that's where food is the equivalent of the clothes, and conscious decisions need to be made what we put in our body as much as what we wear on our body. That makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes perfect sense. And the question like that comes to me is, well, where do I even begin? I think of when I go shopping, it's typically to Marshalls. I don't know if you guys have that in Canada, but it's like I guess a collection of extra clothing from these larger companies. Definitely still fast fashion. I don't even know where to start. So where does someone begin when they're trying to incorporate more sustainable fabrics into their clothing and shopping regimen?
Well, I would suggest, if this is completely new to you, go look in your closet and see if you find something that's made of a natural fabric, cotton, wool, um, linen, and then compare it by feel,
Hmm.
and create an awareness about how these fabrics feel compared to the synthetic fabrics. Wear them on your body and notice what you feel in comparison. So create that awareness.
Hmm.
For me, I find that my body feels more comfortable. I feel cozier, warmer in a good way. And I think it's because your body's breathing, and so you're not getting clammy. You're not getting all itchy from something. So that's a good place to start. And then when you do go to Marshall's, we do have Marshalls here. It just came a couple years ago. Don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And look through the racks and find linens and cottons rather than the other. That's not to say that they haven't been produced in a fair way. You don't know that, but at least it's a natural fiber. So I would start there. And then I might move to researching, not necessarily researching online, but Googling sustainable clothing lines and find some that you like. If you know local crafters or there's local craft markets in your city, go there and search out sewers who may have a line like that. And you're not only supporting somebody local, you're putting something good on your body, and that's feel good both ways. And then just continue that journey.
Yeah. Those are incredible suggestions. I'm actually excited to now go through my closet and see what's really in there. So this will be good. And those are just great suggestions for everyone listening. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about Lat Living and your brand and how that really came to be, because I know that there's a special story behind that.
Okay, well, years and years ago, I was pregnant with my third and final child, and I was 9 months pregnant at the time. So you can imagine this, beach ball on my belly, and in the middle of the night, I was having a nightmare. It was the worst nightmare I've ever had. I was thrashing around in bed, and it was, so alarming that I sat bolt up in bed, which any pregnant woman listening would know that is impossible to do with the beach ball on your belly. But I sat bolt up and I heard this voice, and the voice said, "Love above all things." And immediately I forgot the nightmare. This wave of peace just descended upon me. And the first thought that came to my mind was, they really wanted me to get that. And so, at the risk of sounding crazy, I never really shared that story with anybody. My whole rest of my life, here and there to very special people. And it's been in the back of my mind for a few years that would be a good acronym for my clothing line. But that would mean I'd have to reveal the story, and I wasn't sure if I was ready or if people would just think it was stupid. And then COVID hit, and I thought, if not now, when? And I was in the process of putting an e-commerce site together at any rate, and I thought, well, might as well do it. And it's almost like the minute I made the decision, the universe put a jet engine on my butt and everything just came together. You know, the renaming came together, all the paperwork. It was so easy. I thought, I think that was meant to happen. It just flowed, and all that mind fucking that I was going through didn't matter at all. It just happened. So yeah, it was renamed Lat Living. So as you can tell, it stands for love above all things. And I think it incorporates every aspect of life. That's how I want it to be, so that I have room to incorporate more into the website as I move further along this journey.
I got chills as you were sharing the story and how this came to you, because I too believe that we have these serendipitous experiences, these very kismet moments that just remind us that there's something new for us, or something important for us to bring into the world and birth. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And the more we do the work and pay attention to our intuition, the more it's there for us. And the more it'll lead us to the next part of whatever the journey is. And it'll be the right thing, instead of fighting or swimming upstream and nothing seems to gel. And that's what I'm finding is happening now. I don't know if you could relate to that.
I can definitely relate. There's been many moments in my life where things don't feel that way. And then when they do, you're like, oh, this is part of the path. For it to feel graceful and easeful and beautiful. So I can relate. I'm curious for you, what is your biggest vision with Lat Living?
Well, now that's a scary question.
That's
My
why I
biggest, what I would love to do is, and I started, is feature other women who think like myself and have a creative path in their life. I remember years ago thinking, you know, everybody should be able to make a living at what they love to do. And if they love to create things with their hands, they should be able to make a living at it. They shouldn't have to go work somewhere and feel tired and drained at the end of the day. So I think it was part of that thought process that made me want to support artists. Every year in our city, there's twice a year, and this dynamic woman in our city organized it, and it's just mushroomed, what we call a craft revival. And so what businesses do in our core is open up their space, and I have a lovely space, and we can bring in 13 artisans, and the whole downtown is transformed into this day of shopping the local crafters and artists. And I get so jazzed on that day. Like, I am a ball of energy, just so excited that people have an opportunity to sell their heart and sell their soul. I don't mean in a bad way.
Yeah.
The creations of their heart, their soul, not sell their soul to the devil or anything like that. So in my space as well, I have a few women who knit, and they are able to display their work here. So I've extended that to the website now that we've got it set up. So I have a lovely Chilean woman, and she knits, and she had to leave her country because of the fascist dictatorship in the 70s. And I just found out this story this past couple weeks when I said, let's get you on the site. So my big vision is to have more people like that, and to help more people realize their dream of being able to make a living with their beautiful artistic talent. So that's the big vision. And then to expand the natural products on there, not necessarily all made by me, because hell, I can't make everything. I mean, I'd love to try, but there's only so many hours in the day. So to be able to source out more natural products, and let's create a natural, sustainable Lat living instead of Amazon. How about that? where people have a place to go that they can trust and shop that way. How's that for a vision?
That is an incredible vision, and I really appreciate your mention of I can't do this all alone. And I think that's what so many of us have to come to realize, as many of us are these strong, independent, fierce, bold women, but we realize that there are so many other people that have a big vision too. And if we could come together and gather, we can really create that in a much more sustainable way for ourselves too.
It's so true. One of the biggest things that excite me is getting these cottons that I got from India and knowing that they come from a small community in India where they've traditionally grown the cotton, dyed the cotton, and then they stamp the cotton with, I'll show you an idea, like, I don't know if you can see it, with these beautiful stamps. And that's a tradition in their culture. And these families have done it, well, even a whole community, they're all involved. So something that I do way across the other side of the world has an impact on their sustainability. And we are a global community now. I just can't. I am in India when I'm sewing with these things. It's almost like I can smell India, feel it, taste it. And it feels so good knowing that I know, not personally, but I know who I'm working with. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Who has been your greatest teacher on your own life journey?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can name one person, but certainly my practice of Kundalini yoga and the teachers that I've had Gurmukh, where I did my basic training, and it was in India, so I kind of know what the smells of India smell like. And that was life-changing experience. And then I continued that journey in my teacher training and working on my level 2s. And the lovely late woman in Southern Ontario, Sat Dharam, and she is a naturopathic doctor. And so what a wonderful teacher that ties right in with my mission of spreading information and teaching people that everything's connected. Your food is connected to the clothes, is connected to everything you do on the planet. So those have been wonderful teachers. And my husband's been my greatest teacher because he's got my back more than anybody, but he kicks my ass too. So he forces me to look at myself and sometimes rethink my approach. So that's been quite a journey. Sometimes you hate it though, right? When they're right. But yeah, that's been tremendous. And just beautiful books, women like yourself, this continued connection that we now are doing virtually has been a real eye-opener, and I've learned so much from your journey and from a couple other groups that I'm engaging in. So yeah, it's just so exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I would probably answer the question the same way. I can't just pick one. Are you kidding?
Right?
So I'm there with you. I'd love for you to share how people can get into contact with you, how they can find your products, how they can purchase your products. So share all of that and how people can enter your world.
Well, my website is latliving.com, LAATLIVING.com. And my Instagram handle is the same. And my Facebook is the same, Lat Living. And so those are where I can be found. I'm open to any questions, any comments, I'd love people to say things they like, so I know what to continue to make, or what registers with people. So yeah, that's where I can be found.
Great. And do you ship internationally? Because I have a feeling that people are from all over who listen to this.
It's on the website. It right now is open to Canada and the United States. I'm open to shipping internationally. You would just have to DM me, and then that way I can go figure out at the post office what the postage is. It would just be a little bit more of a back and forth. So, because I don't want to charge an unfair amount, I want to make it fair. So I would get an accurate price, and then get it shipped off. So yeah, that's how we could do that.
Cool. Great. Well, I just want to say thank you, Susan. I'm so inspired by your work. I feel like I'm on this continuous learning journey, and you are one of my teachers in this whole world of sustainable clothing and fashion. So just thank you again for your work in the world, and thank you for sharing the message that you do share.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and see what you just said just proves how interconnected we all are. We all are teachers, and we all are learners.
Absolutely.
For our whole life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has been supporting this show and this podcast. I really couldn't do it without the support of everyone who's watching and listening. And really the big vision here is to change the types of stories that we are hearing on the internet, on the news, on social media, to ones of inspiration, of empowerment, of hope, because we really, really need that right now. So thank you guys for your support, and I hope you all have an incredible day.